Hello, I'm Alma Schneider. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the proud mother of 4 children, one of whom has Prader-Willi syndrome.
And I am Iris Miller. I'm a certified rehabilitation counselor and the proud mother of 2 children, one of whom has quadriplegic cerebral palsy and is nonverbal.
In this podcast, we discuss the uncensored truth about raising children with disabilities.
Prepare to laugh, cry, and hopefully learn something new.
This is 2 Moms, No Fluff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to 1 in 6 Supports 2 Moms, No Fluff podcast, the podcast in which we discuss the uncensored truth about raising children with disabilities. We are very happy to have you here, whether you're a veteran to our podcast or a newcomer. We welcome you and hope you will leave with some kind of information that is useful to you and your family. So I'm Alma Schneider, and I'm here with my partner, Iris Miller. And Iris is going to let us know what we are discussing for today's episode.
Hi, Alma. Hello to everyone. Today we have a special episode that is timely, I would say. And today we would like to discuss how to set new goals for a child with a disability. It's almost the end of the year and everybody is kind of making their New Year's resolution for themselves and maybe for their families. And this topic is kind of sensitive and complicated when we look ahead to another year with a child with a disability. For some families, if I may say so myself, setting up goals is almost impossible because you don't know if your child can maybe even progress from where they are right now. And this can be a painful topic. Just thinking about that can be intimidating to some.
Absolutely. And I think that the main concept or idea that we want to get across in this episode is that be very general with your New Year's resolutions for your child or your goal setting, because as we veterans with older kids know, sometimes our kids will never reach that goal. Sometimes we need to make the goals really, really small so that we can accomplish those goals, or they can have the opportunity to accomplish those goals. And we need to celebrate those tiny moments. And if we set these huge, lofty goals, we might get disappointed. We might feel like we don't have the energy or the internal resources to keep going because we spent all this time working for this and it didn't pan out. So we're going to be much more likely to have the enthusiasm and the interest in working on those goals if we set very, very small goals with the thoughts behind the goals that, you know what, this may not ever be accomplished, and we have to be okay with that. And then we can shift gears to create different goals that maybe our children are capable of accomplishing.
Yeah, Alma, that's a good point, an important one. And I want to share my personal story that when my daughter was very young and we were in the early intervention services, it was already very maybe clear that there is very little chance that she would achieve any of those goals that were set by the services through the state that she was receiving. And I really got annoyed every time her therapists would write things like, by such and such age, or in 6 months, she would roll or sit independently or grasp a toy or something of that sort. And here we are almost 18 years later, none of those goals were achieved still. And my conclusion from the goal setting for my child was that the burden of goals should always be placed on the adults caring for her, whether they are professionals or paraprofessionals. Tell me what you are going to do for my child to live the best version of her life, and how you're going to achieve such and such things that are related to your field of expertise. And if the burden is put on the therapist, on the caregiver, then the child can thrive. And I don't care if she ends up rolling, sitting independently, standing, walking, holding a pen, whatever it is, because she still does not do any of that. But I want her to be happy and to live the best version of her life that she can possibly live. And tell me what you're going to do about that. That would make me happy.
Yes, excellent, excellent point. It's really about how we're framing these goals in our minds and what's most important. You know, I brought this up many times in our podcast that when having discussions with my child study team, I always said academics are the lowest on the priority list, the lowest. We want our son to be able to socialize effectively and appropriately. We want him to have opportunities to socialize with people who are going to be monitored so that we can see what the interactions are like. Because very often, when there are behavioral issues or problems that come up in school, we don't know what's going on when there's a lunch group, what do they call it, a social skills lunch group or something like that. I would like to know, and I think most parents would like to know what actually is being facilitated to accomplish these goals, not just say, oh, something inappropriate was said, something, inappropriately was done. I want to know what the antecedent was. I want to know how it was dealt with in the moment and the aftermath, how it was discussed. So just saying we have these goals, it's not enough. We need the description of the goals. We need to know, especially if there is a timeline. We want to be able to say, okay, this goal was worked on for such and such amount of time, and what has happened in that amount of time, whether it's a week, a day, a month, even if it's, a half an hour lunch bunch. That's the term I was looking for social skills. I want to know exactly what happened. And a lot of that goes back to a communication book or really being on top of getting that feedback, because I think a lot of parents, it's exhausting having to constantly ask the question, what went on here? What went on there? It's much easier if we start in the beginning with the schools or with the therapists who are coming to the house to say, I would like a communication about what transpired each time. So that then it's off your hands. You don't have to keep asking, and that the expectation is that you will receive information after every interaction or class with that child.
Yeah, that's interesting. It reminds me of that analogy of us spending so much or time teaching kids who have communication challenges learn how to communicate, and nothing at all with typical children teaching them how to communicate with the child with communication challenges. And
Mhm.
same goes to the goal setting. I find it interesting how sometimes, the school has a goal that the child would have less violent outbursts, in the classroom, but they don't teach the teacher or the other students anything to help de-escalate the situation in the presence of that child. And teaching the other children how to de-escalate the situation is a gift for life. If you
Yes.
know how to resolve conflicts, you have more success as an adult, no matter what you do. So it's a little sad that the burden again of goals and achievement is put on the children with the maybe least ability to kind of produce the product that everybody is looking for or so anticipating.
Yeah.
And in that, I want to say that as a parent, I try to sometimes think of the year ahead in terms of the things that I want more of and the things that I want less of, and what was happening in the past year that I want to keep on going for next year, and what are the elements that we need to maybe eliminate. Usually it's stress, but don't tell anyone. But, just as you're thinking about your life, try to kind of look at what you currently have and what is worth kind of putting in your bag and taking onward to yet another year.
Yeah, no, really good points. And everything that you just said can be translated into family life. So having goals with the child's siblings, with ourselves, and how we interact with the child. Like, I want to make sure that I don't yell or I know what my triggers are when my child does this. I need to be more aware of it. So we need to create goals for our interactions with our children. We need to talk with the child's siblings about creating goals in their relationships, as well as aunts, uncles, grandparents, close friends who come to the house. I actually have had experiences with friends in years past who would say things to my child undermining me, not even realizing that they were doing it because they felt like they had to come to the aid of the child, or um, not really understanding the full situation behind the scenes and what we're trying to accomplish. So even having discussions with family friends who might feel like they're being kind, letting them know that, we're really trying to work on this with our child. And I know you mean well, but that kind of undermines what we're trying to do. So these are all, goals with family, friends, school, community programs, anybody that our child is interacting with.
Yes, and I want to say, talking about the bag and what you're taking with you to the next year, if you have people in your life that undermine you in front of your child, think twice about taking them on with you for yet another year. Gosh, I'm sorry, Alma, that happened. I think that there was maybe the overarching goal that I had for my daughter when she was younger is for her to gain a sense of control over her own life circumstances and for her to be happy. And I think that no matter what's your ability, you can always present, or the child's ability, you can always present choices to them. And by presenting choices, and it can be as simple as, two options in terms of where they are being put or laid down, if it's here or there, that can be a sense of control over their life circumstances. But we as families, I think I learn it still, even though my child is turning into adulthood, that I feel personally the sense of loss of control over my own personal life. I can't choose which car I want to buy because it needs to be a wheelchair accessible van, right? And I can't choose the activity or do things spontaneously because we're dependent on so many like care providers and aides, etc. And I think that in that mix of maybe limitations or challenges that are brought to our lives with our children with disabilities, the other goal of being happy is very, very important. And I think as parents of children with disabilities, when we set the goals for the next year, it's so important to put the space and time on your calendar to take care of yourself. So at the end of the day of constant, endless caregiving, you do have a spot of time and maybe a place in your house. It used to be in my New Jersey apartment, my closet, but that you have a space that you can maybe hide and find a moment of tranquility and a moment for self-care. It's so, so important. That's my kind of maybe thought for the next year.
Yes, lots of self-care, and we'll continue talking about goals, but self-care is always, number one. Self-care, if you do not care for yourself, you are not going to be able to care for your child. So yes, self-care, setting small goals, realizing that some goals may not be accomplished, so shift gears to other goals and just hang in there. You have a community and we are here for you. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, and if you have any questions for Alma or myself, or any suggestions or ideas about how you set goals with your child and how you prepare for another year, please don't hesitate to write to us at info@oneinsixsupport.org. We're always happy to hear from you. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
For more information, please go to www.twomomsnofluff.com. Thank you.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give it a 5-star rating so more people can hear it. Thank you.